I speak for the poor in America who are paying the double price of smashed hopes at home and death and corruption in Vietnam. I speak as a citizen of the world, for the world as it stands aghast at the path we have taken. I speak as an American to the leaders of my own nation. The great initiative in this war is ours. The initiative to stop it must be ours. These are the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. from the Trumpet of Conscience in 1967. They are as relevant today as they were then. In a time of potential covert abuse of emerging technology, we need governments and the people they represent to work together to reclaim the healthfulness of the environment. Thank you.
Remote neural monitoring and organized stalking networks are pandemic in the society. Our organization has received calls from every major city in this country and nearly all 50 states. Many thousands are being stalked and tormented by advanced surveillance and mind control technologies, which appear to have been deployed by the U.S. military and the intelligence agencies. There are many similarities to the protocols used. The target is observed for a certain period of time, and once the victim's patterns are established, then he or she is attacked covertly in every conceivable way, 24/7, whether at home, work, or in the community in which he or she lives. What is happening in regards to mind control technologies is a major human rights atrocity, and it needs to be exposed and stopped. People need to be aware and informed that mind control technologies have been deployed in our cities and towns across the U.S., and that they are amounting to a major human rights atrocity wherever they have been employed.
Most recently, I'm working on a case involving injuries claimed by primarily children in the country of Vietnam, relating back to the Vietnam War in the 60s and 70s. And I've been over there 7 or 8 times and have personally seen the unintended consequences of what can happen when products that may be properly designed for the original purpose, such as defoliants used by farmers, can be misused when applied to food crops and put somewhere where human beings would later come in contact with them, either by eating it or drinking the water where it's contaminated. And because of my experiences doing this, I think it's very important for both, not just the United States government, but governments all over the world, to make sure they interact with the companies that design products, whether it's genetically altered grains or defoliant chemicals that farmers use, or in the case of pharmaceutical products, which are made all over the world, and in our country at least, have to have FDA approval. And of course, being a government agency, usually they are both underfunded and sometimes politically controlled. So it's very important for all the countries around the world to work together at the both governmental level and also people who, like ourselves, who are private citizens. If we have knowledge, adverse effects of a drug or a chemical or a seed product, it's important, particularly through the use of the internet now, to share information, that we all bring this to the right people's attention. The Food and Drug Administration actually does not conduct testing like most people think. They actually allow the companies to outsource to private enterprise the actual testing of new drugs. And all the FDA does basically is review the studies that are not their own. They're not equipped to do that. And so often the big business or any business that's promoting a product puts forth its own studies that they have a financial interest in making sure only the best information gets out there. While the government is technically responsible for policing these new products that are, and not necessarily just drugs or chemicals, but there's so many new scientific products coming out today, whether it's a new light bulb that puts out a new frequency that we don't know the effects, there's new surgical techniques that have to be approved. I just think we have, with modern technology and how rapidly the world is changing, it's much harder for science to keep up with what's changing, because science is causing this change. And I think we all have to slow down, and we all have to be extremely vigilant to not so much police, I guess that's a generic term, but we all have to be carefully examining what's put forth in the marketplace, not just as a consumer, but also for governmental use and sold around the world. We don't live in a perfect world. It's always a trade-off, but I believe there are examples that some businesses have gone far beyond what they should have. When they knew a certain product was that dangerous, they had a ethical and a legal duty to bring that information forward. I think when it becomes obvious to a company, whether it's a chemical company or a tire manufacturer, for example, in a product liability case, if they know they have a certain defect, they have a duty to bring it out. And where they hide it, oftentimes it comes out later and they get popped with punitive damages. But sadly, that's after many people have been injured or killed. So I believe businesses have an ethical duty, not just a financial duty to stockholders to make profit, but they have an ethical duty to the consumer who buys their product.